do anything like special to celebrate this anniversary at all as a group?
It varies. We've done some things in the past, um, but it varies from year to year, depending on the year. This year we haven't really done much up to this point. There's been people who have inquired as to our availability and things like that, but it's been pretty quiet.
How do you guys kind of keep in touch, or like you said it varies, but how do you guys kind of stay connected as a group?
We have a group chat, and everybody who has a birthday, we all wish that player their respective happy birthdays.
Yeah, when you kind of look back now, 45 years, just what kind of like what are some things that just kind of stick out to you about the entire experience as a whole of just being a part of that team?
It's amazing that we're still talking about it 45 years later. Something that we are, without question, very, very proud of. We're very happy, more than happy to share the story and the experience. But it's kept us close for 45 years. We don't see each other often, but we're very close friends.
Yeah, I mean, just how crazy is it that, all this time later, it's still so kind of like culturally relevant. Like even like, last night in the Four Nations game, it was all over, kind of like the like tribute videos and everything, hype videos.
I don't want to be a snob, but they were trying to compare last night's Four Nations Cup deal with 1980, and it's, with all due respect, it's not remotely close. You have professional athletes playing in a 2-week tournament. We played on a team for the entire season, and it culminated in playing in a 2-week Olympic tournament. So I get it, and that they're trying to raise the excitement level, but to me, there's no comparison. We were amateurs; they're professionals.
Yeah, for sure. Um, I mean, how often do you get asked by like, kids you coach or like younger people about the 1980 team who, weren't even born when all that happened?
I get asked quite often. I coach a high school team. I coach the Blake boys varsity hockey team, and so I talk about, or I get asked about it quite often, not by my players, but you know, friends and family members.
Yeah, just kind of the Russia game specifically, just like what was kind of your experience with just all of that? I mean, just how crazy and everything it was.
And winning the Olympic gold medal.
Yeah, that too. But I mean, just those two games. I mean, like, there's just so. I mean, like
How
the Russia game,
crazy was
obviously.
it? Well, relative to what it would have been like today, it was nothing. It was very quiet, but we had a celebration. Obviously, they had the closing ceremonies after we had won, and then the next day we got on Air Force One and flew to Washington D.C. and met President Jimmy Carter and his wife. We had a luncheon there, and when we going from the airport to the White House, the streets were lined 10 people deep, and it was something that we were not completely unaware, but we were quite surprised. That would never happen today without the players being aware, fully aware of it.
Yeah, and then it was on the Russia game specifically was on like a tape delay, right? Like you guys had this experience, and the rest of the country didn't really see it until that evening, correct?
ABC made a decision not to televise that game live, and so they did tape delay it, and so most of the country didn't see it live. If you were up the northern part of the country and you had a Canadian feed, you could see the game live through the Canadian feed.
Okay. What was your reaction to the movie? Like, what did you think it got right? What do you think it got wrong? Kind of that sort of
I
thing.
thought Kurt Russell's portrayal of Herb Brooks was pretty good, pretty darn good. Um, in reality, Herbie was tougher than Kurt portrayed, but Kurt got his message across as to how Herbie handled us, how he coached us, and what he was trying to accomplish.
What was kind of your reaction to that scene in the locker room in the Sweden game
In
with you?
reality, it was far more severe, far more intense. After Herbie had given me that hard time, I followed him out into the hallway, and we were screaming and yelling at each other out in the hallway. Now, this is after the first period of the very first game, and the Swedish locker room was right next to ours. So we're screaming at each other, and a couple of Swedish players peeked out of the locker room looking at us, and they're saying, "The U.S. players have already lost their marbles. We got this game."
Yeah. Um, just kind of what was your overall relationship with Herb like, even before and after obviously playing for him at the U and then Team USA?
My relationship with Herb was player coach. not friends. Um, and that's largely due to the fact I played for him for 3 years at Minnesota. Herbie kept his guard up, and I understand that. He was a different coach than the coaches are today. The players are different than we were today, and that's Herbie chose to coach that way, and with us, it proved to be very effective.
Yeah. Was the Minnesota kind of Boston rivalry that they portrayed in the movie as intense as was that actually that intense?
Pretty intense, at least at the beginning of the year. Yeah, it was very intense. We didn't like each other. We've become very close friends, but at the very beginning of the year, that rivalry was very real. And the scene in the movie where we skated in Norway after the game when we tied, that did happen. We skated for about an hour. We didn't get sick. We weren't throwing up, but we did skate for about an hour. And he used that to break down some barriers.
So you'd say that kind of was the kind of a turning point in that relationship between those two groups.
It became in After that event, it became the players against Herb. Herb was the bad guy. Herb was the target. It wasn't Boston versus Minnesota. It was the players against Herb.
Makes sense. Um, is there anything people kind of like forget or like you think kind of goes unmentioned when it comes to that team and what they all accomplish and everything?
I don't know if people forget, but I'm not sure people were aware that we actually got together with the tryouts were in July of 1979, and the tryouts took 2 weeks to complete. And then Herbie picked the team of 26 players, and we played a 63 game schedule. And we traveled all over the country. We only had 12 games in Minneapolis, St. Paul. The rest of the games were on the road, so we were on the road constantly. And we built a very strong camaraderie. And I mean, that's partly why we were successful. We were young and we grew up together very quickly because of being on the road so much.
Yeah. So what do you hope like the legacy of the 1980 team is just like going forward and long term?
I don't have a hope for the legacy. I think the legacy is taking care of itself. In a simplistic way, it's you can accomplish more than you ever dreamed of, but it's not without a sacrifice. It's not without dedication. And there is no guarantee, but if you're not ready for the opportunity, it will come and go before you know it. We were ready for an opportunity. We didn't know what the opportunity was going to be, but we were ready because we were in shape. We were tournament ready. We were mentally strong, and we got lucky.
Yeah. I know you've been busy with coaching and everything. Did you get to watch much of the Four Nations? And I guess just what was kind of your thoughts on the whole tournament?
Well, I missed both USA Canada games. I did see the US play the Finns and the Swedes. It's obviously very high-end hockey. I enjoy watching that. I mean, the game is as fast as Drew Doughty from Canada said. The first U.S. Canada game was the fastest game he's ever played, and he's played for 15 years. So the speed was really apparent, and I love that.
Yeah, I mean next year the NHL returns to the Olympics. Just how do you think that'll kind of impact like international play? And like, are you and for that? Obviously, you were part of a group that wasn't, a bunch of you guys were more amateurs. So
I like to see the best players in the world play, even though it's not a full season. It's a 2.5 week tournament, so it's different than what we experienced. But nonetheless, it's the best players in the world competing against each other, and you're playing for your country, and there is no higher honor than doing that.
yeah, I guess just last thing, just how much have you seen Minnesota specifically kind of have an impact on USA hockey and just like the number of Minnesotans have come through over the years and made such a, had such big moments on the international
Well,
stage?
a lot of people say that what we accomplished has opened the doors for players in Minnesota, and you look at the U.S. players in the NHL today. I mean, Austin Matthews, he grew up in Arizona. Seth Jones, he grew up in Texas. Um, so players are from all over the country, and that's largely due to what we were able to accomplish, and it popular. The game became far more popular because of that.
Perfect. Yeah, I think that's all I have questions wise, but I really appreciate the time.
All right, my friend. Thank you.
Thank you.